bubbling sound in the background is actually the wind. It's not, anything more substantial than that. It's the wind making those bubbles of sound. It's because I'm on the balcony and it's not strong wind, but it's enough to feel cold when the sun goes in behind a cloud. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Oh yes, you wonder why I put these odd comments in, but it's to help train you. Remember that if you get what you think is something worth remembering, something helpful, something that's a blessing, put it down immediately, as soon as you possibly can, because you will lose the vitality and the vividness of it, and perhaps the whole thought altogether if you delay. It just doesn't happen. In other words, well, let me address it in perhaps you think it's an overstatement, but when God talks to you, treat it as very important indeed. You want to remember it, and your memory's not good, so you write it down immediately. And by His blessing, His goodness and grace, as you write it down, you get not only all the details of what you've just come into mind, but more. And it's a great blessing. So you're training yourself to be a recorder, an effective note taker in a sense, an effective recorder of the court, or secretary taking the minutes. You're there immediately, and in other words, you're writing it up while it's very fresh in your mind indeed, as fresh as it can be. 1, so you don't lose it, 2, so you don't get it wrong, and 3, so that you get such much more as He's very happy to give. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you, Dad. So yes, we can also communicate with others in dream time, and receive advice from other most helpful persons. Might be Auntie who's dead, Might be an angel. Might be God. And if we can remember it, and that's the tricky thing, of course, we seem to be denied the memory, or we're not practiced at remembering it. But if we can remember it when we wake up, gosh, get it down fast. And that's what that lady who was writing on a historicity, so to speak, of almost pre-ancient Egypt. Something fairer. I did have the story, I've mentioned it much earlier in my recordings. And she would receive, she's saying, in her historistic account, I suppose, of her previous life, I gathered, in such a circumstance, that her mentors would help her during night sleep. In fact, nighttime sleep is extremely busy. It's crowded, Lots happening, and it's got to be done. It's done by morning. And in the morning, her living guide chap would say to her, now, tell us what you dreamt. Tell me what you remember. And he'd do this often and frequently, so that she's training herself to remember what she gained in the dream state. Windfarer, that's the book. Windfarer. If I can find it. The goodness, I haven't lent it to someone and not got it back. If I can find it and tell you the author, I will. Yes. But yes, you see, perhaps as we advance, spiritually speaking, by which I mean, become more sanctified, holy, then our dreams become better, a sort of indicator of how we're doing. I don't wish to condemn some poor soul who's having terrible dreams at night, but I would commend to such that they take up good company. Well, the usual thing is to say scripture. I mean, Marshall's a bit fussy about which bits of scripture you take as good company and who you take as good friend. But whatsoever's good and lovely, think on these things, and that will help your dreams. You could say, well, in that case, Marshall, why are you having a couple of doubtful dreams in the last week or so? Well, I don't know. But I hope it's simply because God's telling me something about dreams. And that's the next, I don't know, part of the frontier I'm meant to be working on. Realizing that dreams are very much part of our development spiritually. The lady who wrote Winged Pharaohs certainly thought it was, well, just part of her training, there's no question of it. Yeah.